we're starting in Firefly on the web, text to image, because that is specifically what the ask was for initially. And if I recall the prompts correctly, that this person was trying to use, one of the first things I want to just kind of like generally note, you don't have to like overemphasize the pattern portion of it. You can just put in seamless pattern, and that seems to work just fine. Every time I do this, I forget, like, I set up screen zoom, and I can't remember which keyboard shortcuts I used for it, so. But I'm just typing in seamless pattern down here, and that's all you really need to do. You don't need to specify that you want it to be tileable. You don't need to specify that you want it to tile on the top, the bottom, left, and the right. None of those things are necessary. They're not going to make it more repeatable. Seamless pattern is fine. And then we're going to type in what we want, which was cartoon. They wanted like cartoon, cute cartoon sloth or something like that. Cute cartoon. So we're going to do that. And generate. And I already know that it's going to pull a square aspect ratio to begin with. So I didn't need to, like, you know, go into another image and get that set up first. I could just generate like this.
This is so fun.
What? I'm missing something.
Look in chat. I just did a space pattern.
Ooh.
I like the sloths.
Nice. Yeah, and you can tell just kind of like at a glance that these are pretty good. You can see that like the top of the head gets cut off, and then but at the bottom we've got like the top of the head. We've got the left side of the sloth's body over here. So and like it connects back to the branch. You know, everything is looking like it, even like the minor details like the leaf here, and the leaf down here. It's already pretty, these are already pretty seamless. Like leaf, all four corners are different aspects of the sloth. And Bruce is asking, when you use the pattern option in Illustrator, do you need to add the word pattern? No. So let me download a couple of these just so I have them. I'm gonna do that so we can take a look at these later. Oh, you know what? I also shared window. I didn't share my screen. So let me stop this for a second. And then I will reshare my whole window.
And I have to agree with you, Jack. Jack was giving tips earlier, and the more that you generate, or the more that you continuously generate, the worse the patterns get. And I immediately came to that issue. So, yes.
Yes. So I just put in what I wanted, and then I hit generate. Let me pull this up again real quick. And the more time, I've noticed that the more times that you hit refresh, like let's say we wanted to kind of like, oh, we weren't happy with this, we wanted to have like, I don't know. Let's just pick one of these. Cats and Christmas trees. All right, we'll go with that one. Thanks for the suggestion, Firefly. And if I hit generate again, like the more times that you hit generate in the same like URL or the same link, it's actually gonna like start to become less and less tiled. At least that's how what I've kind of discovered. So in the case of this person who was struggling with their pattern, it might have just been a case where they were trying to figure out the words they wanted to get the specific, you know, image that they wanted, like figuring out the prompts, and they were hitting refresh over and over again. And I've actually found that like the more times that you do that, the like less
also delicious
exact the pattern becomes for some reason. So in that case, I would just open up a new Firefly tab once you've kind of got, like, let's say I'm happy with this. This is a wild pattern, by the way. I was not expecting it to turn out as well as it did, but we've got some Christmas slots. And I would just start a new seed, essentially start a new fresh
like a batch, but not full batch,
generation in a new Firefly window. If you're starting to notice that the pattern is breaking down.
I see.
So. Yeah, you can always preview the tile. You can always preview to tile preview in Photoshop to find out if it tiles. Yes, we'll get into Photoshop, but I wanted to hop over. We're all over the place today. I do want to jump over to Illustrator because Bruce had a specific question about it. So I've got my properties panel over here.
Well,
I'm just going to minimize all this since we're not going to be looking at anything else right now. Where we've got our text to vector down here. And I'm just going to draw out a square. You don't have to draw out a square.
Holding shift to make sure.
Maybe even
to constrain it. You don't have to draw out a square. Just do a rectangle. And but if you wanted to just see the pattern tile, you would hold down shift with the rectangle tool to create a square. So once you've got this is how I like to do it. I think you can do it without having a shape selected, if I remember correctly. And it should generate. Let's do a sample prompt. And see. So you'll notice up here I've selected pattern from the type drop-down menu. You've got subject, you've got scene, you've got icon, and you've got pattern. And pattern is the one that you're going to want to use because that's going to automatically create a nice pattern swatch for you that almost always repeats seamlessly. I very seldom, if it's something like really strange or
if it is allergies, it's just because I was
complex,
around different stuff.
Sometimes I'll get like a little bit of the pattern be like a little bit off, and you might need to do a little bit of modification. But in general, this does a really good job making seamless patterns. So, okay, yeah, I think I can just drag out any shape then and apply it. So you don't have to start with a shape is really what I wanted to show there. I find it a little bit easier for my brain if I draw the shape out first, but you don't have to. And you can see I've actually got under my preferences, let me just show you this real quick. I have transform pattern tiles turned off. If I check that on, it's gonna scale and it's gonna like stretch my pattern itself. So I have that turned off. I usually have that turned off if I know that I'm going to be working with patterns. I'll just go in here and turn it off.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for me to kind of like, fit this to any shape that I want to without having to like
so far. Because I feel like it's like, we'll go do our transfer. Then
go in and like reapply and stuff like that.
And, like,
that's a great tip, Jack. I did not know that.
So
yeah.
I didn't know about generating the pattern and then creating the shape afterwards.
And then our friends.
Yeah, you don't have to. And to just kind of show as well, every time I click on one of these variations, I'm gonna open up this panel, scary panels again for a sec. I'm gonna in my swatches panel. Yeah. You can find all of these, by the way. If there's ever something that's open and you don't know where it is, I'm like showing something. If you open up window, all of the panels that you could ever possibly open are here in this drop down, and you can see the ones with check marks are ones that I have open already. But you can open up if you don't see swatches, you can open it up from there. So, but you can see that every time I click, so if I click on this variation, it's adding a pattern swatch directly to my swatches, and pattern swatches are unique, and they're like they're kind of a pain to set up kind of on your own, so it's really handy that Illustrator's text vector pattern mode specifically does this, so you don't have to bother like taking a generated square and going into pattern editing mode and like making a pattern and everything. But you can see I don't know about you, but like I cannot locate any areas on this where something isn't tiling properly. Like it does a really good job of making tileable seamless patterns. Even something that's a little bit more complex like this, I'm not seeing any areas that jump out to me as being off or anything like that. But if you did really want to like dive in and check that, you can open each of these patterns, and this is what pattern editing mode looks like, and it's a little bit kind of overwhelming to see, right? But you can think about this area here as kind of the boundaries of your pattern tile. So we can see, and if you open this up and it's set to 100%, it can be a little bit hard to tell what's going on. So you can just go into dim copies and drop it down, maybe we'll go to like 40%. Anything that's dimmed is like a copy, so it's that's what's you're seeing the pattern sort of tiling across the background. But if you kind of like zoom in here, we can kind of check the boundaries, see if there's any kind of like weird overlaps or anything with these transparent or these dimmed copies to make sure that everything tiles seamlessly. And I'm not seeing any areas where it doesn't, but this is where you would go in if you wanted to make adjustments to these individual elements. Like there's something off about, you know, your pattern, you could go in and you could like manipulate these individual shapes. Or like, let's say we don't like the banana for some reason, we can just, you know, remove it. Looks like there's a background as well. Let's say we don't like the gray background. Okay, now there's no background, so now this is gonna be a pattern that's, you know, got a transparent background, so like you could put it over top of another color or another design and it would pick up the color from the background of that. So that's how you would edit your pattern if you needed to edit it for some reason. And you've got another couple of options in here. I would probably leave size tile to art checked off. The reason for that is because you can see all of these overlap areas, and if I turn that on, now we've kind of like broken our pattern. So it's already set to be sized properly. You know, Illustrator's text vector kind of does that for you. And then move tile with art, that just means if I were to like drag this around, it's actually going to like move that bounding box for my pattern with the art. So I don't ever have to worry about like accidentally like moving something off and now I've got like an area where something is kind of messed up. So I would recommend, if you've never worked with pattern, just kind of like leaving those settings alone. But that's generally how patterns work. Anybody? I'm not looking at the chat, so I don't know if we've got any questions so far. And then if you wanted to, because these are vector, you can recolor these. So we could do these generative recolor or regular recolor. I'm in the wrong window. Edit colors, color artwork. You know, and these are going to recolor because they're all vector. And you don't have to do it from this window. I should have showed that. You can actually recolor patterns and it'll make a new pattern swatch for you from the main, let's hit cancel, from the main area here. So I'm going to select this, this object here that has this pattern applied to it. And if I go to edit colors and use generative recolor on this, or regular recolor, either one of them, and I apply a new color palette to it, you're going to see over here in our swatches panel, you can see it's maybe a little bit hard to see, but there's actually like an outline selecting this pattern currently. And when I I change the color, it actually creates a new pattern swatch for me, which is really nice because you're working then like non-destructively. So you've still got the original pattern, or you can go and change it to the new, like it makes a new pattern swatch for you. So you don't have to worry about like duplicating that swatch before you recolor. It does it kind of all for you. So that's the benefit to using patterns in Illustrator, is that a lot of this, it does a lot of the work kind of for you. That being said, if you want raster patterns, you could use text to image here. I admittedly haven't tried making a pattern in Photoshop with like the generative fill. I don't know if you have, Sean.
No. We can try it. No, we can try it though.
We can try. Do you want me? I can go through and do some Photoshop, or you can.
As long as it doesn't crash your machine.
Yeah. Or we can switch to you. I was just gonna bring the hold on. I was just gonna bring the some of these in, so we could take a look at them tiling real quick. And if I crash and burn,
I'm here for you.
Yeah, Sean, you can just take over. Okay, so there's a little sloth. I know there's a way to preview this.
Go to View, Pattern Preview. And
where is it? Oh my gosh.
View pattern preview. It's about 2/3 of the way down. Now, here's an issue, Jack. Your canvas is not the right size.
Yeah. Let's do this. I'm just gonna open it. My downloads here. Okay. View. Okay. So we can see it's pretty good. For the most part, it's close, but we would want to, like, edit these. And this is where the extent of my knowledge, because I would just, like, copy and paste and move it over and then gen fill. But maybe you have another suggestion, Sean.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find this really fast. Do you want me to switch to me?
Sure, we can. Do you have some downloaded that you can open?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right, we'll switch to you. I don't want to give people the wrong information about the best way to do this in Photoshop. And I'm more of an Illustrator girl, so.
Not a problem. The big thing to start with is I've got these patterns loaded already. There is a lot going on, and Firefly did not do a good job. Uma, hello. And this planet, this space one, if we go up to here to the top, we go to view, coming down, you'll see pattern preview. We're going to hit preview. And yes, it works better in a smart object. You can see we're close. I mean, maybe planets are that shape. But if we zoom out a little bit, you can see the lines definitely happening. It's a little off. So something like this, what I would end up doing is we would get out of pattern preview, so we'd close it. Next off, we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Image and Image Size, and we're going to just double check our sizes. And let's take this down to 2000 by 2000 pixels because we like math to be easy. So next off, we're going to go up here to the top to Filter and down to Other at the very bottom and go to Offset. Now that's going to pop up this window here. Now, as you can see, I've already have it set up. I'm moving it horizontally plus 1000 pixels and vertically plus 1000 pixels. So I'm setting it in half, and as you can see here, you can see the line is right down the center to that point. So at this point, I'm going to hit OK. Now we can take advantage of generative fill. So I'm going to grab our rectangular marquee tool, and on this seam, let's just select it all the way to the edge right there. And at this point, let me move my taskbar up here so you can see it, generative fill and generate. So
yeah, the offset there was the trick. I was going to do it the manual way, but this is what you should do.
Yep. Because now you're correct, Jack. In the other way, you use the offset. Okay, that looks great. You use the offset so you can see your seams. Otherwise, you're just fighting. You're fighting your edges. Now you could do all this in your pattern preview, but again, you're trying to make life as easy as possible for you. So we're going to knock this out really quick. And then because it's a small pattern, and of course it's only 72 pixels, we're going to try something out, because let's say our final outcome that we want is this to be printed. So far so good. And let's make this selection here.
Pattern is saying I wouldn't have never thought of gen fill. I will warn you though that you have to kind of do this the way that Sean's showing it, where you use the offset. If you try to use generative fill on the web, you think or you try to use it in Photoshop and you try to just select the two sides and the top and the bottom, and then you hit gen fill, it's actually going to just generate new sides in the top. It won't, and they won't connect. It'll actually probably make them connect even less. So it's really important that you offset them like this, and then select that seam specifically and regenerate the seam. Just generating the sides like if you think you can just use it in the web, it's not actually going to work. You have to offset it first or move it. So
yep, exactly. So checking out our variations, I like the second one. The second one's the best, so we're going to go with that. Now we're going to speed this up. Command 0 to zoom out. As you can see, I've got my 4 generative layers right there. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to select our background, and I'm going to go Command E to merge everything down. Now we're going to go back up into Filter, Other, Offset. Now we need to go a negative 1,000. Whoops. A negative. Where's my negative? Negative 1,000 pixels by a negative 1,000 pixels. Hitting OK. Did it do anything? Command Z. It did not. Let me unlock this layer. Filter, Other, Offset. Okay, there it did. All right. We're going to hit OK. So now let's do a test first. We're going to go View, Pattern Preview. Yep. And now looking at our edges, that is seamless.
Mm-hmm.
I am not seeing any lines. So we are happy for that. So we're going to come back up. We're going to go View, Pattern Preview. Now let's go ahead and get this started. So first thing, we need to go into Image and back to Image Size right here. So we're going to click that. And we need to increase our resolution to 300 because we want to print this. So we're going to hit OK. Ooh, okay, Command 0. As you can see, going to 300 pixels, that just made it huge. So if we come back up, Image Size, going 300 DPI or PPI, we've got an 8,000 by 8,000 pixel pattern. So that's good enough. All right, we're happy with that. So we're going to hit OK. Now, I wanted to show this. This is not very good. But let's say you get a good pattern. You don't think about setting the resolution at 300, but you want to make it bigger. So right now, image size, it's around 2,000 by 2,000 pixels. We're going to hit OK. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to duplicate this layer. No, I'm not. Let's Command Z it. Let's just do this. I am going to take this. I'm going to turn it into a smart object using my shortcut, or you can right click on it, jump over here and convert to a smart object. And we're going to come up here to the top and go to filters. And please God, don't crash my computer. And we're going to go to neurofilters. Jumping into neurofilters. This was Umacorn. And on Umacorn's stream today, we were actually talking about this. So there is a new enhance, relatively new, but it's called Super Zoom, which is a strange name for it. But we're going to turn that on. And as you can see over here, what you've got is it says Super Zoom, enhance image details. I'm not worried about removing a JPEG artifacts. Noise reduction, not worried. Sharpen. We don't have any faces, so we don't need to enhance the faces. And what we're going to do is, as I hit the plus button right there, Umacorn, you can see now it says ×2. So I recommend, if you're going to do this, go ×2. You can do it multiple times. But what we're going to do is we're going to do an output as a new layer down here at the bottom. And I'm going to hit OK. So if you want to keep increasing this, now, this is messed up because it's taking this layer size. So we're going to go Command Z, and we need to not jump into there. We have to make it as a new document. So that was my fault. I apologize, everybody, but we're going to do this really fast. And I'm stunned at how quickly that worked. So we're going to go ×2. And we're going to go to new document. And as you can see the difference, if you watch the preview up here, if I do a new layer, it's keeping that 2000 by 2000 approximately pixel size. So this is the zoom. What you want to do is make sure you bring it out as a new document. So it's going to double the width and the height. So it's going to be 4 times bigger. We're going to say OK and Command 0. So here it is. This is our new document. And we can jump over into our other document, which is right here. Whoa, Kobe. We can't read books. So we've got, let me jump over here. There it is. Let's zoom out a little bit. And if I go up to image and image size, you are going to see that it doubled in our width and our height. So we are now at 4000 by 4000 pixels and at 300 resolution. I did not know it set it up to 300 resolution when you use super zoom. But if we come back to our initial one and we go into image size, it's at 72 for the resolution. So super zoom took care of the resolution and also the size problem if you actually want to print this. So that's a new one for me. I'm glad we found that out. Is there any questions or anything I need to go over in Photoshop?
Tim shared a pattern.
I see that, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Katarina looks like Katarina's playing along. I just made my...
Can we see this pattern? Do you mean your pattern, Tim? Or my frog pattern? Yours. Okay.
Yours.
This one, let's get to the big one. This one is not very good, and I haven't cleaned it up. I wanted to jump into super zoom, but we're going to go to view, pattern preview, and yes. And as you can see with this one straight out of Firefly, that we do have some major issues here. Like this lily, that's not good. You know, this up here, this is going to be a really tough one to actually go through and fix. But you know what? Let's try it since we're here. So view, pattern preview, let's turn it off. And we're going to go to the small one because I don't want to overwork Firefly. Mm-hmm. We're going to jump in. We're going to go to filter, other, and back down to offset. Excuse me. Let's go. Let's do our image size. We want easy math, please. Take this to 2000 by 2000. Now we go into filter, other, offset, and -1000, -1000. Perfect, thank you. And you can see down here, this is messed up. This is not good. So you have to pay attention to these things when you're making your selection. So I need to make sure that I'm selecting all the way down to the hands.
Yeah, so in this case, you would select maybe less of the top, over top of that, and more of the bottom, or would you still do equal parts?
I'm not doing equal parts. I'm doing about 1/3 on the top and 2/3 on the bottom for that selection. And I have to hit generate before I start talking. So you can see my selection here. You can definitely see the seam. So I'm still selecting enough of the top. I'm not selecting the fingers. I don't want, or toes, whatever they're called on a frog. Flippers. I don't know frogs. Okay, that's that first one. Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah. You might need, you might be able to clean it up when you do the center line, but that like part that's close to the center line. But in general, it fixed the double legs issue.
Yep. We've got major issues happening here. So I have no idea what it's going to do. I deselected. Come on, Sean. I don't want to get that lily. And if you make a selection and you're like, no, you can hold down the space bar and move your selection around while you're still holding your mouse. And so I think that might work. All right. We're going to generate major issues and general problems, my arch enemies in Photoshop. The funny thing though, Tim, is, and I know Tim knows this, because most of the stuff I've actually learned this from Tim. Not bad. You would do the same thing by offsetting, but then you would be going through and using the clone stamp tool and really trying to get in and fix everything if you were actually trying to make a pattern. And it doesn't always work well. So, like, this is going to be interesting if it smooths it out. I'm assuming it will.
Katarina shared some planets, and yeah, Katarina, this looks like, just from what I'm looking at here, like this is tiling. If you wanted to fix maybe the small gaps in some of the lines around some of the planets, so they all kind of connected in some way, you could go through and just like generative fill on those little areas like Sean's kind of talking about. If you had like some small area that you still needed to fix, you can just continue to keep, fixing it as needed. So, it doesn't have to just be for fixing the seams. You can fix anything that you see.
That's not bad. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to merge everything down really quick. We're going to hold Shift, select everything, Command E to merge everything down, Command 0 to zoom out. We'll zoom out a little bit more. And now we need to go back into Filter, Other, Offset. And you have to remember, take it the other way. So we can actually just leave it at, because it's negative. So that equals 2000. Now let's try it. Let's go into View, Pattern Preview. And yep, thank you. And let's take a look. Zooming in, looking for our edges through here. Wow. I did not expect it to turn out. Well, to be honest, I didn't expect it to turn out. It looks like we have a small issue right here on that seam. So that's going to be an easy fix. Let's go View, Pattern Preview, get out of that. Yep, I see it right there. And let's just do a quick fill.
I know that Kobe made a bit of a book for us to read, but I do think it's kind of making maybe a point that relates back to like our original reason for doing this, and that is that like text to image does a pretty good job making patterns, all things considered, but it still does require a little bit of like work to get it. You're not going to get a result that is perfect right out of the box, and nor should you. I mean, there's going to be things that you might want to change about the pattern anyways, just to kind of make it your own. So and I think that's kind of like getting to maybe your point, Kobe, about artistic expression.
Yeah. Jack, I'm going to go ahead and let you share your screen.
Sure.
And on that point, I think, if you're actually looking for a true 100% seamless pattern, Illustrator is going to be the best way to go.
Yeah. I mean, but it, again, like stylistically, like what is your goal with the pattern? Also, I fixed this guy. Fixed my pattern, following Sean's. So now we've got a seamless little sloth. Yes and no, as long as this is what you kind of like want to create, right? So if I'd use a similar kind of a prompt here, and we make we'll do it with we'll start with the square this time. Let's go with cute cartoon sloth pattern and generate. You'll see the style difference between the two. just because we're dealing with vector here versus like raster art. That one with the sloth pattern had a lot of texture in it from that like texture line work. So it's going to just be a different style altogether.
Uh-oh, we may have lost Jack. We lost Jack, I think, everybody. Yep. Okay. Jack will be right back. That's kind of surprising because they weren't even in Photoshop. Usually they crash Discord when they're in Photoshop. Yeah, so to get kind of back on the point, Kobe, I didn't get a chance to read your chat. I will as soon as we're done. But with putting your own spin on things, I think as it gets, it's the same concept of taking your artwork and stylizing it. Like, well, I took a photo of myself, took it into GenFill, and used opacity and different techniques to only adjust percentages of it and made a cartoon character of myself. So you could, in theory, still create your own artwork using generative fill or any of the AI tools that could speed up the process to get to the point that you'll be ready to make a pattern in Illustrator and or Photoshop. That's kind of my thoughts on it. I closed Photoshop. That was wise, Jack.
Yeah, hopefully that fixes it. But you can see, I don't know where I left off in terms of talking or what was on my screen. But this is my cartoon sloth pattern in Illustrator. It's vastly different stylistically than what we had in Photoshop. So, am I still connected? Okay. And I had to close Photoshop, so I can't do a side-by-side comparison. But, here, actually I can, because I shared it. So if we take a look, this is what we got from Photoshop, or from text to image that we brought into Photoshop. This is very different. You can see this is kind of close in terms of the content, but and I don't know what sort of tropical plant our sloth friend is hiding in here, but different, different styles.
Now,
so,
the reasoning behind that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but when you're using text to image in Firefly, you are using Model 2. If you did the same pattern in Model 1 in Firefly, I bet you this is what it's going to look like.
Potentially, it just also you're not really gonna get the textures that you're getting here. Like unless because this is all kind of like a product of just raster art in general. You certainly, if you wanted to, you could get pretty close, but it's probably not going to be like exactly the same as this. But yeah, we could try that in Model 1. I think I've still got it open.
Okay, I'm going to do a test. I'm opening up a new file in Photoshop. We're going to use generative fill, and I'm going to try to use the same prompt as I did with Firefly to start with the seamless patterns, and we're going to see what we get.
But yeah, let me zoom out really quickly and just do show you that this again is seamless. I don't know about you, I can't tell where the seams are on this. Like, Illustrator does a really great job of making seamless patterns. I honestly can't think of a time where I've had to edit a pattern. I mean, I feel like there may have been a couple of times when I was doing like trying to generate really heavy like textural stuff where sometimes it was a little bit wonky. But honestly, I would just use a different pattern anyways, because those were usually too more complex than I actually wanted to use. So,
can I share my screen, Jack?
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
I apologize.
My window.
This is horrid. Okay.
Oh no.
So this is Model 2 from Firefly. You've all seen this. This is Model 1 using the exact same prompt. We've got that. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
I put in seamless pattern, cartoon frogs on lily pads.
I don't think that's what we got.
So we went from that to that. Now here's the question. Is it seamless? Nope, needs a little bit of cleanup. Not bad. Not bad. We do have a little bit of seams happening. But that's the only good thing about it. Oh my goodness. So yeah. Thanks, Photoshop.
I do know, like, I kind of demoed when we went into the individual patterns. I do know that it's kind of like there's some level of like how it's constructing the pattern swatches is actually really clever in Illustrator's text to vector patterns, because it does think about like what elements it needs to keep and get and discard so that the pattern tiles seamlessly. At least that's kind of what I've discovered. Just kind of taking a look at the pattern swatches that it makes. So, yeah.
You can share your screen.
I don't know. Yeah, probably easier. I don't know. I'm guessing this is more Model 1 style.
See, that's the thing. I don't know if it is Model 1 in Illustrator. I know it is in Photoshop. But Illustrator, because it's actually creating vectors, I'm assuming it's Model 1. The text to image, I'm almost sure that it's Model 1.
Yeah.
But I can't actually say for sure.
I don't know for sure either. But you can see here it's being smart about how it's the background here. Even it's got like a grayish background incorporated into it. But if I delete that out, you can still see it's being smart about how it's like laying out all of the elements. So like on this side, I've turned down the copies to 0. On this side, it's got an overhang here, right? And because it's size tile to art is checked off, right? It's when we increase the percentage now, you can see that's kind of like that's how it's making those like seamlessly tiling patterns. Is that it's being smart about the placement of elements inside of the pattern swatch, which is pretty smart. That also may be a reason why more complex things, like if there happens to be a different element over here, why you might run into issues, you know, if you've got a more complex pattern. But that's why I think it's like able to do that in Illustrator, because of this, because of what it's doing here with the pattern swatches. Whether or not it's Model 1 or Model 2, I don't know. We could try the frog prompt and see what we get.
Oh, so, yeah.
What was the prompt? Cute frog.
It was seamless pattern, cartoon
I don't need
frog.
That. Yeah, cartoon.
Okay, frog. Cartoon frog on lily pads.
On lily pads. We'll try generating a pattern, see if we get alien frogs. If we don't, then we know that there's some other kind of magic going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But, you know.
Aaron's saying Model 2 is only in text to image on the web. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, so we're probably going to get some weird frogs.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I know Photoshop hates me. My Photoshop hates me at times. Why are you doing this, Sean?
Although the lily pads I'm seeing, the first variation is lovely. I like the colors. Although I don't see any frogs. Oh, there's like little, they look like praying mantises.
Okay, I would say, yes, that is Model 1.
Yeah. Although they're not terrible. but they're also not what I would call frogs.
They're not what
this
we
one's
got
pretty
with
bad.
Model 2.
No.
Are they wearing
no.
hats?
I can't really tell what's going on here, to be honest with you. This one's probably the not great. I mean, I would probably go with this one and just kind of like fix
Aaron's
the
asking a good
face.
question. Yeah, do they have teeth?
I think they do. I think this one does. So, like, you could... Okay, here we go. We'll go in here and, like... We can help this guy out a little bit. You know?
Oh.
This is where you would need to come in and you know... have some artistic license with this. Fix it up so it looks like a frog and not whatever's happening. Like, we could bring this over, right? Although it is leaving, like, holes. So, yeah. I don't like these gray backgrounds, so I just remove them in general. But
this is the prime reason that we constantly talk about Firefly is not going to be a one button do everything for everyone. You still need Photoshop skills. You still need Illustrator skills. It's just another tool within the toolkit.
yeah, I mean, this is where you would come in and make, you know, fix things.
Okay, Bruce, I get your question now. Bruce is asking, how do we not use Model 1? You have to use Firefly. Yeah, on the web.
Yeah.
You have a choice, and if you switch to Model 1 on Firefly on the web, you have a choice, and Model 1 sometimes is much more stylized than Model 2. Model 2 is much more photorealistic. So these are times, you know, if I'm generating something, even on the prompt jockey, you'll see me test Model 1 to Model 2 just to see which one I like better. Sometimes Model 1 does come up with something better, but yes, you do not have a choice if you're working in Illustrator or Photoshop, as we discovered today. And there's no, I know the next question, there's no ETA as in when Model 2 is going to be entering any of the other programs. And even if I knew, we wouldn't tell you. Oh, Aaron, way to go. Eventually, the later models will be available in other programs. The ETA is eventually.
The color thing. That's what I was going to show you. And now I'm generating something, so you'll have to wait. These frogs look better. Look at this. Look at these little froggos. I guess they're a little weird, huh? That's okay.
Well, they're froggos. They're going to look a little weird.
Oh, these are nice.
All right. I dig that. Yeah. They're like on little... Some of them look like they're on umbrellas.
Yeah, like mushrooms. Something.
Yeah.
A little weird. Some of them have tails. Anyways, there are so in text to vector, you have different settings. You get the style picker, and then for subject, scene, and icon, you have a detail slider. For pattern, you have a color option for your settings, and you can choose from one of these. So if you wanted a specific color palette, like you wanted warm colors, cool colors, etc., black and white, you can pick from this drop down, or you can also limit your colors. So if you were working with a limited color palette, you know, as you may be because of, you know, print limitations or what have you, you can go in there and actually specify the number of colors you want to limit it to. And you can also add colors. So, like, let's say we wanted green frogs no matter what. I can grab a green here and hit generate, and that's going to limit my colors. It's probably going to be very green. Limit my colors to 3 colors, and incorporate that specific green color into it. So something else just to note there. I don't know how many people have explored the settings there, but since the original question about patterns was regarding print, again, you kind of have to decide what's the style that you want, what's the final output going to be used for when determining, what you choose to use. Illustrator, text to image, Photoshop, etc. Yeah, we've got some very green frogs now.
Oh, wow.
But it is limiting it to 3 colors. So it's limiting my color palette and incorporating that green like I asked it to. So that was the last thing I wanted to make sure I showed before I forgot.
I've never used the term kawaii in a prompt. So thank you for that, Katarina.
Oh, we've got all right, the Santa theme. I mean, that's cute though. I really like the purple and the red that I chose for the hat. It has an overall very warm feel to it, which is kind of cool. And the little snowflake.
Except for the snow.
Yeah.
Well, he does have a little tear. That's a sad frog.
Sad boy.
His home is all frozen over.
Yeah, I guess you would be sad.
I can't get to my Christmas tree. My presents were underwater.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I get you, Gareth. I was looking at Gareth. Oh my goodness.
We're coming up on time, so is there anything else that we want to talk about? Anything else that we need to make sure that we mention?
The only other thing, since we were talking about print, it reminded me you can switch your color schemes from RGB to CMYK if you need to in Photoshop. Make sure to double check with your printers, print house, wherever it is you're getting your patterns printed. A lot of printers will just, JPEG's fine, and they'll deal with it. So double check on that. I think that's it. I mean, we got into a lot today.
Yeah. I think the most important things to just kind of, the takeaways are, you don't have to get so seamless pattern is enough. Just seamless pattern in your prompt, seamless pattern and whatever it is that you're trying to make is enough. You don't need to add like seamless, repeatable, tileable on top, bottom, left sides. It's not gonna make your pattern repeat any more than it is if you just put in seamless pattern or repeatable pattern. I mean, whatever. You really just need to specify it in one time, and then that it does a pretty good job. But using those tips that Sean showed in Photoshop of the offset and generative fill is you're gonna be probably taking it into Photoshop anyways, especially if you're gonna be printing it. So that's kind of like the best way to get it to repeat is to just offset it and gen fill the seams, and you should be good to go.